Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate Power Zone, the podcast. Today we have with us Robert West. He's with Keller Williams out of Athens, Tennessee. Great area on there. But today he is going to talk with us about and give us some ideas about brokerages, the different things that you should look in with a brokerage. One thing that he had mentioned to me is, and I'm just going to read this as far as what he sent this to me, because it's a great jumping off point for this and the different things that you have to consider with a brokerage. But Robert was saying in any state, a real estate agent must work under the supervision of a licensed broker. The broker assumes legal responsibility for the agent should any disputes arise and helps ensure real estate transactions are compliant with state and federal laws and all relevant ethical standards. And each state, that's one thing that we've noticed, is that each state can be vastly different, but also each broker owner within a company can be vastly different. So there's a lot of different things that we can consider on this. Robert, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're going to help us today?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind, you mentioned the state. So I actually started in North Carolina. When I got my license back in 2017, beginning of 2017, I started with a particular firm and moved on to Keller Williams and went on to another firm and then went back to Keller Williams. So, but like you said, each state does have different requirements. So I'm actually licensed in North Carolina and Tennessee right now. And so if I go to North Carolina and do a transaction there, I have to produce certain forms, do certain things as far as the transaction goes and, research and whatnot. And then in Tennessee, it's totally vastly different. And I think they said that the change took place. It used to be a reciprocal thing where you could have your North Carolina license and then you could get your Tennessee license. I think it was like 2015 or so, they made it separate. And so each states have its different requirements. And that's why it is important that you're familiar with that. And the other way you can be familiar with that is to have the knowledge or to be under a brokerage, and they can assist you with the compliance and the necessary things that you have to do in order to perform your transactions.
Oh, wonderful. And you were mentioning it used to be reciprocal.
Yes.
I know from what I've seen, there are some that are still reciprocal.
Yeah, there are a few states. I'm not quite sure which states are. Georgia is very similar to Tennessee. And so what I've seen so far is I've seen a lot of different people who are agents in both Tennessee and Georgia, or maybe even Tennessee and South Carolina. But there's not too many people that are Tennessee and North Carolina. I think it's because of the whole how it's closes as far as title is concerned. And you talk about title in Tennessee, and in North Carolina, you have to go through an attorney. And so that's handled through a different process and everything.
Yeah, it sounds like it's totally different on there. And I know sometimes just being licensed in one state, there's a lot that you need to know anyway to begin with that. But that's why lining up with a good brokerage is a great way to start. But
Yeah.
when you're a newly licensed agent, where do you start just to see about where to hang your license and what to expect out of a brokerage?
Sure. So, I mean, there's just so many different variables to consider. They don't teach you this in real estate school, of course. They just teach you how to get prepared for the exam.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. And from there, you're kind of out on your own. And so thinking back in 2017, I did take it through Keller Williams. They had like a pre-licensing school, but I didn't really just say, hey, since I took it here, I'm going to just stay here. I kind of reviewed and saw different options out there. I ended up starting with a kind of a mom and pop brokerage, and I'll talk about the different types of brokerages that you can start with. It's an independent brokerage, actually. A guy was a local weatherman, and he called his brokerage All Weather Realty. So it's pretty catchy name and, play on words, so to speak. And he sold me the house that I was in at the time. And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you mind taking on another agent to take and learn? And he's like, sure. He did that for a little bit. But there are some challenges when you do that, and we can talk about that and break that down even further as far as, what the pros and cons are for different brokerages. And so I did that for about a year or so, and then he kind of cut me loose. And then so I decided to kind of go to different brokerages, sit down, talk with them. And some of them were excited about me coming in. Some of them were not so excited. They just like, well, it's another, person underneath our wing, and we got to take care of them, or we got to scoop up after them, whatever they cause a mess. We had to scoop up after them. So, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit further. What I was going to share is, of course, when you're starting out, you do have to go with a brokerage. I mean, you do have to have so much experience under a brokerage to kind of understand the business and to figure out the pros and cons and the legalities and what you do, what not to do. You can become your own broker at some point in time, but that just comes with a lot of different expenses, time, overhead, just all that stuff. And so, maybe about 4 or 5 years down the road, you might want to consider that, but it's definitely good to be part of a brokerage. It kind of just, it's a pillow at the end of the day, knowing that what you've done is covered. And as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing, you do it right, your broker's going to have your back, and your broker's going to help you through the course of the transaction.
Absolutely. And that is one consideration as well. That one is just so much to learn. And
Sure.
Some people are going to learn it faster, some people aren't. But that's a nice thing about being a real estate agent. Hey, listen, same thing with the lender. It's people come from a lot of different industries
Right.
into this, but there is certain flexibility. It is a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work on there, but also things like, how much support do you need? Do you need mentorship? Do you need for the broker to give you coaching, training, help get you up to speed, or how much are you able to do on your own? Do you have that drive that you just want to do it on your own? Or also another thing is a team environment within the brokerage. I think those are kind of the three main things that I see.
Actually, I wrote down 4 things, and I can kind of go into that.
Well, you're the expert, so
yeah.
I'm just a limber on the outside here.
I had 3 things at first, actually, and we may have similar things that you've written down and I've written down together. But the top 4 things to look for in a brokerage, first of all, sales. If you're going to be in a sales business, you want to know and align with the brokerage that is a top producer. It only makes sense, right? You don't want to go to a brokerage that isn't producing or isn't done 1 sale or 2 sales a month or something like that. You want a brokerage that's going to be selling and shows you how to sell. Their agents sell. You're going to kind of glean from those who are experienced and not just sit back and just wonder how it's going to happen. So one thing that you can ask as you go into the door and interview with these brokerages is just like you are going into a work interview. You kind of ask some questions, right? So one of the questions
let me ask you this on that though, because generally, like if you're going into a W-2 employer on there, they're looking to to see who's a good fit for them, and you're definitely trying to impress. But from being a realtor, you have your real estate license, you're looking to find that good fit. Some brokerages, like you were mentioned earlier, they're looking to actively bring in good people,
right?
But you're generally a 1099 person. What was it, 1099 or you're basically self-employed. You need a place to hang your license, so you need to take control of the brokerage that you're looking for the best fit.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different process than if you're a W-2, because they're kind of looking for you. You're not looking for them, and it's kind of the reverse role. You're actually looking for them, they're not looking for you. But if it's a good alignment, they feel good with you. You talk well, and you share the fact that you've licensed and you've gotten everything together, present yourself well. They're, most part, they're like, yeah, you can hang your license here. That's fine. But again, as you're having a discussion with them, one of the questions I'd like to bring up is, how is your real estate brokerage performing in your area? What's the sales? What's what's the kind of numbers that you're showing as far as the different things that you're doing here in this firm. And then you can ask maybe what they're ranked locally. Every firm might be ranked nationally, especially if you're going with a national firm, the number one firm, and they have different statistics they like to use to say that they're number one, and they'll bring those to the forefront. But you're going to be serving locally for the most part, right?
Right. The local level, extremely important.
Yeah. So, and then of course, you want to ask them if they can provide the figures to back it up. They could say that they're number one, number two, but if they don't show you anything, then they're really just saying that just to kind of get your ears tingling and get you to sign a contract with them. Because when you join a brokerage, you're signing a contract with them. You're not just joining and hanging your license. You're signing a contract, so you have the do's and don'ts and things that you can do and things that you should do and stuff like that. And we'll get into that a little bit more here in just a second as far as the four things. So the first thing is sales, of course, to seeing how they align as far as their sales is concerned.
Okay, well, what's the second thing?
Second thing I've got is support, because every new agent needs support. Yeah.
Yeah, and how does that support manifest itself?
Yeah. And usually it's manifested through training and support programs. And I'll just take Keller Williams as an example. They have the big red book, $1 Million Real Estate Agent. They ask you to read it, kind of get some insight from their producer, which is Gary Keller. They have different coaching programs within our franchise. They do have additional coaching programs. Some are free and some are paid. And each real estate firm offers that in some form or fashion. You just got to kind of inquire. You can't just assume that they're going to train you. You've got to kind of look into, what do you offer for training? How do you provide information for I can get leads? A lot of agents want to go in and just say, can I get leads? Well, no brokerage really. I mean, they say they provide leads, but most part, they're going to show you how to fish, hopefully, and not just give you the fish.
Absolutely. Going back to the support for just a moment. Another thing as well is there are a number of brokerages that do, and there's a number that don't provide in-person training from outside people. Like I know there's a number of times where I've gone into a brokerage to speak for 15, 30 an hour, just whatever their requirements are, but that the lender can provide some training on what they can do, or a variety of industry related things that can help real estate agents become better at what they do. And sometimes these are live, sometimes they're by recording, by Zoom, for example, or some other platform. But then also there's those that don't really provide that at all.
Yeah, and those tend to be more just well, I wouldn't say that. I can't generalize that. I mean, I don't know. I can only speak for what I know, right?
Right.
I can assume all day long that such and such firm won't provide this, that, or the other, than they may. But kind of highlighting what you were talking about, I was having this discussion with a newer agent today. I have a listing in North Carolina, and I was helping her try to set up this open house. This is the first time she's doing an open house. So I asked her, I was like, are you doing, it's the first time? She's like, yeah. And I said, you should partner with a local provider in that area to help you with that open house. And it's very important, just like for yourself, Don, that you work with real estate agents, you work with people that bring you business. And the same thing, we bring you business, you bring us business. So it's kind of new agents need to understand that. They need to understand that real estate agents don't operate just to find clients. They're also working with contractors. They're working with people that are in the business. And so in our firm, we have every so often team meetings. We have like a contractor or a provider, a mortgage provider, whomever, come and discuss their aspect of the business so that they can gain the knowledge of, what that person does, how they help assist with the real estate transaction, because there's many layers in a real estate transaction. It's just not just finding a home. It could be working with a VA lender. It could be working with a home warranty company. It could be working with an inspector and all those different things.
There is so much information out there, and it's hard to know everything, but you just have to start somewhere. And who is a team around you
Right.
that can help? Who do you know? Who can you? That's one thing that you want to do as an agent, whether you're new or been in the business for 30 years. You're looking for good people to be part of your network. I know personally, I'll have, and I let realtors know this when I'm teaching my classes. Yes, I specialize in VA loans, but I know I'm not going to be the VA lender all the time.
Yeah.
But 88% of lenders only do 0 to 3 VA loans a year. So they may not be familiar with, there a lot of it's not going to be familiar with how good, how powerful the loan is. So I encourage realtors to do is to reach out to me, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, because we want to get it done. So this is where bringing great people into your world can really help you.
Yeah, definitely it's our spirit, because it's community. We work with a community of providers to help them get from start to finish. And so that's important to have that kind of support. So that's number 2 is kind of the support that the brokerage offers. And then number 3 would probably be splits. I'm like a preacher here a second. I'm going through my points like a preacher, but
no. It's
trails.
good to have a little structure, especially.
I am a preacher actually by trade as well. I preach as well, so that's kind of my side thing I do too. So
yeah, I could get off on a tangent real easy.
But splits are definitely important because that's how you get paid. And each brokerage has a particular split model that they implement and enforce. They have to make money too. They're providing the overhead. They're providing everything, as far as the requirements from the state. They may be providing leads. They may be providing just other things, office space, whatnot. And of course, they have to pay their brokers too. So, but at the end, you have to get paid as well. So there's some splits that are like 50-50. And what I mean by that is 50% will go to the brokerage, 50% will come back to you. So an example, say if you have a $10,000 transact, or you get a closing check for $10,000. Well, $5,000 will go back to the brokerage and $5,000 will be received by you. And there's some that do 70-30. So 70 will go back to you and 30 will go to the brokerage. And there's even some that do it opposite. They do 40-60. And then if you get into team stuff, we won't go into that far into details, but there's even further splits.
Absolutely. So what would be the reasoning or the advantages of something like a 50-50 split versus a 70-30 on there? From what I've seen on there and just in Facebook groups, some of it is it seems like does a brokerage provide leads? Well, they got to get the leads from somewhere, or what are they doing as part of their marketing
that's true,
to get the word out?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's depending on what the brokerage will do for you. They may also provide marketing information, business cards, stuff to get started, marketing package. And so they had to be compensated for that as well. So they may start their newer agents on a 50-50 split or something along those lines, 60-40. And then some brokerages decide to do kind of an even kill. They'll do 70-30, 80-20. And even further, if you kind of, as you're talking with them, you can ask about the splits. You can also ask maybe if there's a way to get more split money. So maybe if you're starting out as a new agent, it's 50-50, but if after so many years you stay with the brokerage, well, does it go up to 60-40? Is there a way that you do so much production and that you get capped? And what that means is with Keller Williams, we do a cap. So if we do so much production, we get 100% of our commissions after so much production that we paid in company dollar.
Right, because it does cost a business, it does cost a brokerage money to keep its doors open. The more support that you need, the more money it's going to cost that brokerage if they're willing to provide it and has the systems in place to do that. Because a mentorship or a coach that they may provide to help you, whether it's the broker owner or another realtor in there that will be helping you. Everybody needs to get paid.
Yeah. It takes money to make money, that's for sure. I mean, some people have the notion of real estate agents just go in and sell homes and makes a lot of money and nobody gets paid. Well, there's a lot of payments that we have to pay. We have to pay our brokerage, we have to pay our licensing, and we go on all that. Again, if I'm rabbit trail on that, but there's a lot of support that goes into what we do, and we need to make sure that they're adequately funded as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So beyond splits, what's the next thing on the list?
Well, talking about splits, just a little bit further.
Oh, sure.
One of the things that they could ask as well is they may have what's called desk fees. So there may be a desk fee for you kind of going into the firm and working from a desk. There may be a office fee. So you may have an office that's set aside for you. If you wanted to do that, there may be a fee involved with that. And then some firms now these days will do what's called a tech fee. So they have different technologies that they use, especially, and we haven't gotten into different brokerages yet, but the different brokerages, cloud-based brokerages in particular, use a lot of technology. And so because they use a lot of technology and have that all set up, they'll charge what's called a tech fee for different transactions that they do.
Absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot of things that go into the fees, and it's not just looking at the surface level of what is a split.
Right.
There's a number of agents who will do that, go, hey, it's this split. But there's a lot of things that go into it. So take a look to see what your split is that you're paying to the brokerage is covering. Yeah. And that's where you're going to find out the difference regarding that. And listen, if you're more of a independent person and really motivating, can work on your own, then you may not need some of the other things. But I would highly suggest that even if you are, still get in with a good place that's going to give you the support that's needed, because there's a lot of stuff that it's not easy. There's a lot of stuff that y'all do that a buyer or seller will never know about of what's going on.
Right. Well, there's also 100% firms where basically the agent gets 100% of their commissions, but again, they have a hidden fee. They'll have like what's called a transaction fee. And so again, the business has to get paid, the brokerage has to get paid. So they're going to get paid one way or another. It's not, oh, you get 100% commissions and they don't get paid. No. In those situations, but what happens is they get a transaction fee. It's usually around about $500 for each close. And that's repetitive. It doesn't cap. They'll have to pay out each time. So one way or another, you're going to pay a split.
Absolutely. And until you really get established, I would suggest even after that too, but especially when you're first getting started, the more that you can be in an office.
Yes.
And if there are going to be other people around that you can collaborate with, you will learn. Your learning curve will be awesome.
Yeah. So that's my fourth thing. We're kind of segueing into it.
Hey, what do you know? I did something good.
Yeah, you're a prophet there now. So the fourth thing that I would look for in a brokerage is service. How does each person treat one another? What can you glean? Who's experienced in a firm? You're going to learn a lot, especially if you're starting out brand new, and you should bring that kind of positive attitude and helpfulness into the firm. You shouldn't expect to just leech off everybody and expect to, can I have this lead or can I do this? Just see what you can learn, see what you can do to grow, shadow, sit down at the team meetings, find out who they are as a culture. I think that's probably the biggest thing that sold me on the firm I'm at is the culture. I can make money all day long, but if I don't feel like going into work, it's going to be hard for me to go out and produce.
Culture is extremely huge.
Yeah,
Even
especially
though
in
we
this day
have the
and age.
ability, even though we have the ability to hide behind a desk or behind a phone, you
Yeah,
need to be in a situation where you've got the great culture and that you can reach out to other people, because real estate agents more than what I do, but even with what I do, y'all are client based
yeah,
on there, and you're interacting face to face with clients all the time. So it's
absolutely.
you can't be afraid to get out there and market yourself and brand yourself and do whatever you can to get the word out about what you do. But the culture, the service of your brokerage is going to be huge. So absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you see in the firm, everybody's kind of biting one another or not really taking care of each other, or they're all like, trying to compete, or, it could be a competition sometimes, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes. You're not trying to outdo anybody. You're trying to do what you can to help other people. And so if it's a bad culture, it's going to show in the community, people, it's going to reflect in the community. And you can go online and maybe do a Google search and you can see the reviews. I mean, that's the thing about the day and age we live in. If you wanted to pull up somebody, you could pull them up and see what their reputation is. And so I would encourage new agents to do that. As far as the services goes, you go pull up the firm that you're considering joining and see what the reputation is, see how they're servicing their community. And if they don't have the most positive or glowing reviews, that might be something as a big red flag that you can consider and kind of stay away from.
Absolutely. It's what you want to do is just kind of continue to keep your eyes and ears open
Yeah.
about things. And listen, hopefully you get in with a great brokerage to begin with, but we're all human. Sometimes we don't know until, we could have done all the due diligence that we thought we could do, but we could still end up in not the best situation.
Yeah. I mean, that's happened in my situation. I spent 1 year with a firm and it just didn't work out. In fact, what it was, I was thinking, I didn't do anything wrong, but he just felt like he didn't give enough support for me as a new agent. And he said, look, you're going to have to join a larger firm if you want production, because I'm just not going to be here to kind of answer all these questions that you think you need answered. So it was kind of a mutual agreement. There wasn't anything necessarily bad. It was just the fact that I needed better support and better culture and whatnot. So he advised me kind of look around and see what other firms were available.
And always leave on a good term. If you're going to, since we just talked about, mentioned, if you need to leave and go somewhere else, always leave on a good term. You never know when you're going to be interacting and be across the table from someone from that brokerage, whatever
Right.
the situation is, whether you end up coming back. You just want to leave on good terms with that. But
Yeah.
what would be something that, if you do get to the point to where you're leaving, what kind of things should be looking into that contract, that
Yeah.
agreement, to where that how what the brokerage keeps, what if you leave, does that change from it's still your client, or is this the broker's client, or you get paid full commission, or a split, a referral?
Yeah. If you're a top producing agent, I'm not quite there yet, but I've seen this situation happen before in different scenarios. So top producers will have a harder time splitting up from the brokerage that they're leaving because they have so many transactions on the books. But it's one of those things where they're about to kind of talk with their broker, see what the policy is, and kind of get that straight and figured out. And hopefully it could be an applicable situation. They'll just simply, close out their transactions with that firm, do the splits that are with the firm, and then move on to the next firm. Or in some situations, they allow them to take it and move their business over without any recourse. Or they may decide, Well, it's under our firm, so we deserve maybe a little bit of a referral fee or something like that. So in most situations, it's a pretty simple process of moving over.
So it's
It's
a
just
matter of,
as long as they communicate, get that instruction, advice from the broker or CEO, team lead, whatever, they're able to do that.
and probably don't, yeah, what you were just mentioning about talking to the broker. The vast majority of the time that you're going to want to do that. I have seen where there could be a toxic situation, but it's understanding what you signed when you came into the brokerage as well.
Yes.
Absolutely understand that. Here's a just regarding systems, and I've heard about this. If you're using a CRM,
Yeah, we didn't talk about
brokerage.
that, but brokerages do have CRMs, and that's why it's important to kind of understand. I guess we had number 5 would be systems. What is
Yeah,
their system? What's their CRM? That's how they keep track of their clients. What kind of websites do they offer through their brokerage? Where you get your own website,
you
stuff like
still
that.
want to brand yourself, and you want to. I talked to one realtor that they were encouraged by their broker to have like 3 or 4 different CRMs
That's
total.
a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, well, to kind of keep things back up, because some brokerages, when you leave, they'll lock you out, or when they when you leave voluntarily, or when you leave involuntarily.
Right.
They might lock you out of that CRM that is the brokerages. So it's always good to have that information anyway, regarding that, to have your own a database, have your own CRM.
Yeah, just based on my experience, most agents don't keep up with one CRM to begin with. Let alone
Well,
trying to keep up with 2 or 3. I mean, they have a hard time keeping up with one. Most of the time, I mean, especially with the older agents, they're used to writing these things down. And so it's not a problem for them. They have a little notebook or whatever that they keep their maybe Rolodex or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, there's some agents that have been in the game longer than I've been alive. So, but most agents these days use a CRM. They use an online portal. It is important for them to understand how to use that, how to feed their database. It's their data bank, is what we call it here. It's because that's how we do business. I mean, we can't keep up with everything up here. We have to write it down somewhere.
yeah, absolutely. But it's important on there, and for new agents, it is extremely important. Even if you've been an agent for a while, you want to, from the very first person that you talk to, start keeping track of it, start keeping, stay in contact with
Right.
everyone. That's, the follow-up is what's going to be your gold.
Yeah, that's your sphere of influence, your family and friends that already know you.
Right.
And so you're just kind of exclaiming to them, hey, I've got started in a real estate business. Do you know anybody who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate that you could refer to me as a trusted family member or friend? And making those
Right.
connections.
Right. So yeah, we've talked about sales, supports, leads. That's a split service and systems. Yes, you are a preacher. You got that S thing going there on.
Yeah, alliteration, man. I tell you, it
Man,
helps.
that's awesome. What else we got here?
Well, I just want to kind of briefly talk about the types of real estate brokerages, because there's 4 types.
Absolutely.
All right. So first of all, is one of the first ones I joined was, like I said, an independent brokerage. So it's usually 1 or 2 people. Usually it's just a group of family members that get together and want to start a brokerage. Sometimes they may allow an outside agent to join their firm, but most of the time they're going to be exclusive. They just have kind of their own ways of doing things, and they don't want to report to a national office. You may decide over time you want to do that yourself, but most people will end up going with the next 3 brokerages. Next one's a boutique brokerage. So basically, it's just a brokerage that offers customized services and products. So that could be a flat fee type brokerage. Most brokerages offer like a percentage commission. They figure out the commission, whatever, and we're not going to talk about that. We don't want to get in trouble here. there's a percentage they want to offer, and that's fine. But there are flat fee services these days, and they may offer just different things that they do for their clients, where there's just, doing open houses or putting it up on MLS, whatever. That's a boutique brokerage. It may also be just a niche. They may be in an area like the mountains or lakes, by the lakes, or they may just do with luxury homes. So those are what's considered boutique brokerages. The other two are kind of the main ones that are main players. This one especially is kind of gaining traction, the cloud-based brokerage. So it's not something that has a office that is in town or anything. They're operating online. Say they go on the internet, you can pull up stuff anytime through your computer. One brokerage will allow you to meet with different avatars. So if you're into that kind of thing, but I joined them for a little bit, and it's hard to do. I mean, this is great for right now, but for me, I had to meet people face to face and talk with them, get to know them. I mean, I just can't deal with this all the time. So, but they do offer different resources, events, office spaces, and they will allow you to meet at certain places. They may have an agreement to do like I can't remember the place, but basically you can meet anywhere, and you can, I can't remember the name of the company, but basically you can go to whatever that website is, put in an address, and they'll tell you where a meeting place is at.
Right. Yeah, that's yeah, I think you're talking about the websites that offer meeting rooms and conference spaces.
Right. So if you did have to be at a physical location, they have a space that you could do that. But most
Starbucks or McDonald's or something. That's just,
well, I mean, some people do that. I mean, I think most people do that these days. A lot of title companies do that.
oh yeah.
So that's kind of crazy in my mind, because I'm like, these are documents that you're having to sign and got personal information on. I don't know about this, but if they feel comfortable with it, I guess that's all that matters. The client is agreeing with it. Lastly, kind of the fourth brokerage a lot of people know about is just the regional or national brokerages. Those are like Keller Williams, Century 21, Berkshire Hathaway, Remax. The regional ones in this area are Wycott, Crye-Leike, Silver Key, some other places. They're going to offer in-house support. They're going to be able to be there and talk to them face to face or phone. You have physical office spaces that you can rent out, and you can meet with clients and have team meetings and events. So
lots of different options, especially considering today's world where there's just so many different options on things. So there's going to be something that fits everybody.
Right.
And you may have to try 2 or 3 different things to see
at least interview with 2 or 3. Yeah, because again, once you set up, I mean, you have to pay a fee to the state. You have to get set up, all that stuff, marketing, branding, all that stuff costs money. I mean, you're looking at a good $1,500 to $2,000 once you decide which firm you go with. If you don't select the right brokerage or firm, then you got to redo it all over again.
Yeah, it's well, your branding materials, lots of stuff that goes into that. But I guess one suggestion I would have to everyone is, even if it's a brokerage that you have a good idea that it's not going to be your type of brokerage, still go talk, still go interview, ask questions, because you're going to learn from that as far as other questions that you can ask, things that that something they mention that anybody mentions, whether it's someone that you do like or don't like. But what you're going to find out, some information that's like, okay, that I didn't realize that, but that's something that's important to me to be able to include in what I want or exclude it. So these are things that you can help to refine how you do your interviewing.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things, my thoughts on that is, one, people have opinions, and they'll post all their opinions about different brokerages and try to dissuade you for joining a certain brokerage or whatever. But until you go talk to them face to face or virtually or whatever you feel comfortable with, you don't really get to know that brand or brokerage. And that kind of helps you determine whether or not reality is matching what other people are saying. Most of the time, it's the case. People do have an opinion for a reason, but it's always good to kind of make sure you vet out the different brokerages and see, especially like I said, the first point, the sales. If a certain brokerage, everybody's like, "Oh, don't join that brokerage," it might be just because they're jealous of that brokerage. That does happen. So
sometimes it's a personality thing.
yeah.
They know someone that
Oh yeah.
at the brokerage, and they don't like the person.
Right.
That I think you would agree on this is read the contract, understand the
Yes.
contract. Don't take someone's word for anything. It's all going to be written in the contract. Get a lawyer as well, to have a lawyer review, because it's legally binding.
Yeah, we deal with contracts all the time, and we kind of act like we're the legal experts, but we're not. And we as brokers, we're supposed to encourage our clients, say, if they're in an offer, whatnot, to read the contract or go to attorney. Same thing goes with us. We should have the same standard for ourselves. If we're signing a contract, we don't understand something, we should open that up to the broker or the CEO, whomever we're interviewing with, ask them those questions. And if they can't provide an answer, then take it back. It's okay to take the paperwork back, maybe get it reviewed with a lawyer, and then sign if you need to.
Amend it, get it in writing.
Yeah.
Verbal means nothing. Get it
No.
in writing. That's extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any final thoughts here?
Well, I think we covered a lot. There's this quick fact I wrote down. There's 106,548 real estate brokerage firms in America. So
Wow.
there's plenty of firms to choose from. It's just a matter of making sure that somewhere that you're going to feel comfortable and important and setting up shop. You can feel like you're valued. You're not just another agent in the firm. You get along with everybody can get along with you, and you can talk some things out, because there's going to be a lot of situations and things that come up that you just don't have the answer for. It's important that you have a good educated broker in charge, managing brokers, what we call it here in Tennessee, that you can relay things off of and bounce ideas back and forth, making sure you're compliant, especially when it comes to marketing. That's where a lot of new agents get in trouble, is they'll post the stuff out there and don't realize, hey, you've got to have this included, this as well. Make sure if you're doing something else and it's not your listing, you're putting the listing agent's information because it's their listing, and we can go on into that. But there's just so many benefits of joining a brokerage, and hope this has been helpful in sharing some things here.
I know personally I've learned a lot, and I'm sure anybody that listens to this, watches this, will gain some insight from this, because it's extremely important, whether it's going to be your first brokerage or whether you've already gone through 2 or 3 or whatever. You can always learn how to make things better,
Right?
so that you get yourself in the right position so you can be successful, because you are your own business.
Yes.
It's up to you to put the effort in to make it right. Don't rely on anybody else, but it's up to you. You do want to have the right team members around you, so you know who to reach out to. So you always build your sphere with knowledgeable people, because there are people like myself, there are people like Robert, that is willing to answer any questions that you have or point you in the right direction, because we wouldn't be where we are without the help that we've received. And personally, I love to pass it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I like to kind of do myself, is just to help out others. That's kind of my mantra, is to be a help or be a service to somebody else. And I'm sure they'll reciprocate as long as you do that to them.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Robert, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. And you can reach Robert or myself. The information will be in the description. Here you'll have that information. And like, subscribe, follow us. We have more videos, more webinars, more podcasts that are coming out. So keep up with the different topics. If you have a particular topic you want covered, reach out to me, and we want to make it happen. If you would like to be one of our guests and have a particular knowledge of something that you think would be helpful to other real estate agents, let me know. We're always looking for great topics for this. So thanks again. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.